Hi, fourth graders. So I know you guys just finished the video for lesson 6-9 on measuring angles, and I want to start off by saying that this is one of these lessons that is going to be a little bit tricky to teach remotely, so just do the best that you can, okay? Don't get discouraged if you don't understand 100% right away. It's okay. Please don't be so hard on yourselves. What you can do is you can go on Everyday Math online, and in the tools section, you can play around with the Protractor tool to help you kind of figure out how to measure angles since we don't have them in class to play with. But let's go over the math boxes in case any of these gave you a hard time. So let's look at number 1. It says Jordan recorded how far he ran each day for a few days. He ran 2 3/8 of a mile twice, 1 5/8 miles another day, and 1 7/8 mile on the 4th day. How far did he run in total? So that in total already tells us that we're going to be adding. So he ran 2 3/8 twice. So we have to make sure that we're going to record that twice in our number model, plus 1 5/8 and plus 1 7/8. Equals M for miles. So as you guys can see, all of the denominators are the same, and all of these fractions are mixed numbers. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add all of the whole numbers together. So 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. So 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. Now, since all of the denominators are the same, we're going to add all of the numerators together. So 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 5 is 11, and then plus 7 is 18. So we get 6 18/8. Now, 18/8 is an improper fraction, so we can take out a whole. So I'm going to make a little box to separate my work. And if I have 18/8 and I take out one whole, which would be 8/8, I'm left with 10/8. So already I took out one whole, a whole number, because that's what this 8/8 represents. And I got 10/8. Now that numerator is still bigger than that denominator, so we can actually take out another one whole. And I'm left with 2/8. So if I take 6 plus that whole we took out plus another whole, I get 8 2/8. So he ran 8 2/8 miles. Okay, let's look at number 2. It says divide, show your work. So A is asking us to estimate. So let's estimate 6 divided by 84. And what would be a good estimate for 6 divided by 84? Well, I know that 10 times 6 is 60, 11 times 6 is 66, and 12 times 6 is 72. So I actually think 12 gets us close to that 82. And then I could solve this using partial product. If I did 6 times 12, which is 72, and I do 84 minus 72 equals 12, and I know 6 times 2 equals 12. So I have no remainder, and my answer is 14. Let's look at B. 6 divided by 63. 6 divided by 63. Well, I know 10 times 4 is 40, so I could probably go a little bit bigger. Let's do 12 times 4. So 12 times 4 is 48. I still can go a little bit bigger. Let's try 14 times 4, which is 56. That gets us pretty close. So I'm going to guess that it's around 14. Around 14. Okay. So if we estimated 14, and I know that 4 times 14 is 56. So you have to do 63 minus 56, which is 7. Right away, I know I'm going to have a remainder because 7 is not a multiple of 4. 4 times 2 is 8, which is too much. So I have to do 4 times 1, which is 4. And I'm left with 3. So my answer is 15 with a remainder of 3. All right, let's look at number 3. We are subtracting fractions. So far, all of these denominators are the same, so you're just going to subtract across. 2/3 minus 1/3 equals 1/3, because 2 minus 1 is 1, and the denominator stays the same. 4/6 minus 3/6 is 1/6. 11/12 minus 7/12 is 4/12. And if you want to simplify that fraction, you can do 1/3. D. Now be careful. Here is where the equal sign is. So this is the total. So we have to make sure we are looking at what missing value they're asking us. So we have to think to ourselves, what minus 1 2/8 will give me 3 5/8? Well, I know that 4 minus 1, because let's start with the whole numbers. 4 minus 1 would give us 3. So that must be our whole number. And what minus 2 would give us 5? And I know that 7 minus 2 would give us 5, and our denominator stays the same. So 4 7/8 minus 1 2/8 equals 3 5/8. All right, let's do E, 6. Now be careful because this is a mixed number. A through C were all fractions, and D and E are with mixed numbers. So make sure you realize and you switch your strategy accordingly. 6 3/10 minus 3 5/10. So 6 minus 3 is 3. Now, you could do this one of two ways. You could subtract the whole numbers, or you can convert them to a improper fraction. Now, I notice when I just tried to do the whole numbers, I can do the whole numbers, right? I can get 6 minus 3 is 3. But you have to watch out. This numerator is smaller than this one. You cannot do 3 minus 5. You'll get a negative number. So right away, I know the strategy of doing whole numbers and then fractions is not going to work. We have to make these into improper fractions. Okay? So the way you would do that is if I had 6 10/10, right? So 10/10 6 times, I would get 60 tenths plus the 3/10 that are right here. So this changes to 63 tenths minus, if I had 3 10/10 plus the 5/10. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 10 is 30, 35 tenths. So now I have 63 minus 35 tenths. And I could do this because this numerator is bigger than this numerator. And 63 minus 35 is 28 tenths. Now, you have to convert this back into a mixed number, okay? So now I'm going to draw a line here, and we are going to focus just on that 28 tenths. If I take out one whole, right, 10 tenths is one whole, I'm left with 18 tenths. Now, I could take another 10 tenths out of here, and I'm left with 8 tenths. So I took out 2 wholes, and I'm left with 8 tenths. So my answer is 2 8/10, or if you want to simplify, 2 4/5. Either answer is going to be acceptable. Okay, now we're going to be comparing decimals. All of these decimals are either in the tenths place or the hundredths place. 0 and 79 hundredths and 0 and 97 hundredths. So I already know that 7 is smaller than 9. So 7 tenths is smaller than 9 tenths. So 79 hundredths is going to be less than 97 hundredths. 0 and 3 tenths and 0 and 1 tenths. 0 and 3 tenths is greater than 0 and 1 tenth. 0 and 5 tenths is equal to 0 and 50 hundredths. Because remember, 5 tenths is an equivalent fraction to 50 hundredths. D, 0 and 4 tenths is greater than 0 and 14 hundredths. Because the tenths place has a 4, the tenths place here has a 1. E, 0 and 72 hundredths is greater than 0 and 70 tenths. Because if you put a 0 here, you know that 72 is greater than 70. Okay, F, 0 and 14 hundredths is less than 0 and 2 tenths. And again, if you made this in the hundredths place and put a 0 here, 14 is less than 20. Okay, so F, 5. Explain how you compared the decimals in problems for E. So we are focusing on this problem right here, for E. So I'm going to give you my sample answer. I would have said first, keep hitting that home button. First, I compared the tenths place. And we notice that this 10th place is 7, and it's 7 here, right? So I had to go, they were the same. So I had to go to the hundredths place. I know that 2 hundredths is greater than 0 hundredths. Okay, as always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment below. Bye, guys.